Very old. Okay.
The machine can now.
Good to see you. It's fine.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I think the first thing is to ask Mr. Kimpego to introduce Chairman for the state.
That seems to be very good. Thank you so much. Let's just first apologize for the late start of today's public forum. As some of you may be aware, Vandana Shiva is coming right from the airport. There was a certain delay in the flight. Very unfortunately, she didn't get here on time. But we are happy that she is finally here in Ghana and she's taking part in this public forum, just so that she could help us to better, understand some of the issues and also have their own views to all the issues that have been raised, the Palm bill, GMOs, farmers' rights, agroecology, all the issues. So today is going to be a very wonderful day, and we thank all of you for making time to come. The chairman for this occasion is someone who has asked me not to do a long introduction of him, but very simply, he is the current chairperson of the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, and also executive director of the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development. Mr. Bengu, thank you so much for coming. Yeah, so at this moment, we are quickly going to hand over the microphone to the chairman so that he can mediate this event. Thank you all for coming. We are most grateful to have you here. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Maybe a politician is easy. Yes, our friend Dr. Vandana Shiva and our colleagues, our farmers who are good prominent here. I'm very proud of you. Civil society members, I can see quite a good number of you. You are all welcome to this event. I think for me, it gives me it's a real privilege that I've been asked to chair this very historic occasion. This has not happened in Ghana. I remember when I met Vandana Shiva in Addis Ababa, I was with you. I said, can you come to Ghana? And she immediately said yes. But I thought it was one of those things. But today she's here, so I really believe what she said. I think we should go ahead and go to a program. I think I'll ask the People's Lawyer, I don't want to introduce, but I'll say the People's Lawyer who would introduce all the persons who are here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's my privilege to introduce somebody when I mention the name, I feel tears welling in my eyes. Because without him, I will not be where I am. Unfortunately, she is not around, but the daughter has taken the mantle to do what the father did. And so for me, it's always a glorious moment when I see the daughter, and it reminds me of what the father stood for. Anytime we are talking about Ghana, we can never stop talking about the father. That is Dr. Asadefo Pablo. And I'm privileged to introduce her daughter, who is also the chairperson of the Convention People's Party of Ghana. Please welcome Madam Samuel. And I will not leave you until you come and say something. So come and let us hear your voice. You know how we say.
That's fair enough. Thank you. Thank you. And welcome, Vandana. And I think today we are very happy, all of us, that Vandana is here with us. And we are ready to hear what she's got to tell us. But of course, Lawyer Puku, as he rightly said, very often when I'm invited to events or when I'm taking part in any programs, I know that I'm not only around in my personal capacity, but rather more importantly for what I represent. And what I've come to understand is that what I represent is something much bigger than many of us. It's a vision that refuses to die. A vision for African freedom, African self-reliance, African self-sufficiency, a freedom for our self-confidence and our ability to manage our own affairs for the betterment of the lives of our people. And this whole struggle against genetically modified foods, against the laws that will make it possible or make it easier, facilitate the entry of GMOs into Ghana, into our markets, into our land, into our food chain. I think this whole struggle is closely linked to our struggle for genuine freedom, for our freedom to create wealth, to control our land, to control our resources. And many of us instinctively, even before many facts became apparent to us, we instinctively and straight away saw the danger to our sovereignty. And we began to actively take steps to sensitize, educate ourselves to start with, and our friends and the nation. And we have not stopped till now. I hope Vandana's visit will give us more ammunition, so to speak, more knowledge, and also better our strategies to see how we can continue to resist this threat to our farmers' rights, to our farmers' freedom, to maintain our traditional and local breeding systems. So we are very serious about this fight. We will continue, civil society, farmers, different groups. We have to take it also, the threat, very, very seriously. It has sneaked on us, and it's continuing to do so, you know. So I think we need to redouble our efforts, and I hope today will give us more inspiration and more strength. So thank you. Thank you for
Thank you. Please, what you don't know, and which I need to tell you, is that when Parliament invited, when the GMO thing started, and it was so violent, and nobody was hearing about it, and we started making noise about the biosafety law and all that. Parliament, all of a sudden, subcommittee invited us to meet them in Parliament House. Whilst we were looking around, lo and behold, we had Madam Samia, the only woman to go along with us to face the parliamentarians. I think when they saw her, then they realized that the fight against GMO has a lot of people behind. And I think that also prompted them to know that it is not going to be an easy walkway for them. Can we give her a hand? We are expecting Mr. Pratt here very soon. But before he comes, let me tell you a story that is attributed to Nyerere, President Nyerere of Tanzania. He is on record to have said that one time there was a big famine, hunger in the village. And the people, there was no rain, there was no food, the people were almost at the point of death. Then they decided that, look, let everybody bring the last morsel of food that he has. Now let's look for one of the young men who can run and strong enough to run to the next village to alert them that we need help and that if they do not come, we are almost at the point of dying from hunger. So the people collected, the village, they collected their last morsel of food and gave the food to this young man. This young man ran to the next village. When he reached there was so much food and water. So after filling himself, then he asked, should I go back and stay in that village where there is so much hunger? Or I should just tell the people, oh, my people need food, and stay here and enjoy. And I understood the story. It is one critical problem that not only academicians, but everybody faces. All of us have come. I'm waiting for you. All of us come from the village. There's nobody, at least if you were born here, you have your roots in the village. There is a problem. You have been made aware of the problem. The question facing us now is whether we enjoy our situation, enjoy the privileges now, and do nothing about what problems our farmers and our people in the villages are facing. It is a question we need to answer one by one and take a position. Whether you will do something about the problem or you would enjoy today. My good friend has come. Let me give it to you. But I'm sure he doesn't need introduction. Mr. Kwesi Pratt has been my friend. I will say what I need to say in addition. But I think I can say for one thing, he has become the conscience of the nation. He has become the conscience of the nation. Anytime you hear him on the radio, he tries as much as possible to make a presentation of the situation that exists down there. So for me, I think he has taken the position of what he represents and what he do. Let me give it to him and let's hear from him.
Chairperson, Dr. Vandana Shiva, distinguished friends. We were expecting Dr. Shiva yesterday, and we kept getting the news that she's coming. No, she's not coming. And this morning I've had more than 15 calls. Some saying she's coming, and others saying she may not come and she won't come. Now finally she's here, and we are very, very happy to have her in our midst. At the very least, her presence will stimulate discussion, would enable us once again to start thinking about our today and our tomorrow. And I'm very, very happy to be here. I have no doubt at all that the vast majority of the people here, if not all, did not come here to listen to me. They came to listen to Dr. Vandana Shiva. And I would not continue the way I usually continue. As you all do know, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not an agronomist, I'm not a hydrologist, I'm nothing. But when it comes to what we eat, and how we get what we eat, and how to make sure that tomorrow we eat, there's a lot of common sense in it. And I think that the common sense things are far more important than sometimes the very research and very highfalutin statements that we get. And I intend to encourage all of us to apply common sense this afternoon, just common sense. Now, in applying common sense this afternoon, we need to realize that we are where we are as a people, as Ghanaians, as Africans, as citizens of the world, because of some things that have happened in the past. And one of the things that happened in the past, which puts us where we are today, is the fact of slavery and what slavery has done to mankind. The fact that other citizens were made to work for others as beasts of burden for several years. One of the reasons why we are here is also the fact of classical colonialism. The fact that our resources were exploited for the benefit of others and not our people. The fact that other cultures were imposed on us. That we were made to think, behave, and eat in ways that were alien to us is also one of the reasons why we are here today. And this should become important signpost discussions that we have today. Now, we are an independent nation, so we are told. Now, this is an independent nation that is importing fish. This is an independent nation that is importing tomatoes. This is an independent nation that has to spend in excess of $600 million every year to get rice to eat. This is an independent nation that is looking to other nations for its defense. What is the value of this independence when we are so dependent on others for our food, for our defense, and for everything? What is the value of this independence? This is a crucial question. One of my friends used to put it very simply. That if you have your mouth in another person's kitchen, you cannot say what you want to say. But your mouth is another person's kitchen, another person is feeding you. And for me, this is part of the discussion today. We're talking about GMOs, We've spoken about plant-breeded deal and so on. Bottom line, how does that help us to control our ability to grow food and to feed ourselves and to eat what we want? Now, if you have a situation where every year your farmers have to look abroad to buy seeds, and the seeds they plant cannot produce fruits which can be replanted, we have become a dependent nation. Simple, common sense is not difficult. So if we are going to take control of our lives, we need to take control of our seeds. We need to take control of our seeds. We need to be able to produce our own seeds and to grow them. And we cannot allow the availability of seeds to be subject to the philosophy which says that the maximization of profit should determine everything. You cannot have that situation. So it is important for us to develop our own seeds and to grow our own seeds and so on. I cannot talk about the science of the production of GMOs, perhaps in much the same way that Yaboku or Dr. Shiva can talk about the science of GMO foods. But I know that science has gone crazy many times in our history. Science has produced things which have turned into Frankensteins and so on. So it is important for us to be cautious when we are introducing new things whose consequences we cannot determine. Just caution, just blow the wire. Think a little, reflect a little. It's not a problem. I do not understand why there is this huge rush into GMOs. As if our current methods of farming and so on is responsible for our poverty and is responsible for our underdevelopment. What is responsible for our poverty and underdevelopment is not our current methods of farming and so on, but the capitalist system, which ensures that people should only eat if somebody can make a profit. If somebody is not going to make a profit, then we should not eat. That is the problem. The world has enough resources to feed all of us 10 times over. We are not doing that 10 times over simply because of the controls of the resources of this earth by the 1% which has become so dictatorial and so greedy. That is the problem. So GMO is not an answer to the problems of capitalism. It can never, has never, will never become an answer to capitalism. What is the answer to the current state of inequality and underdevelopment? The real answer is a people's struggle to build a new society based on the foundations of genuine and authentic democracy. It's a commitment of people to build a society in which nobody will go to bed on an empty stomach. That is the solution and not GMOs. As I indicated earlier, I bow for Dr. Shiva. She is the one we all want to listen to, and I hand over the microphone. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Kwesi. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, all protocols observed. My next duty is to introduce Dr. Vandana Shiva. And I think I would remind you about the story I told you. That some people, when they end a profession, when they become educated, when they become journalists, when they become lawyers, when they become agronomists, agriculturalists, or whatever, they forget where they come from. Especially when they get a few dollars given to them by those people who have made us poor. This is where I'm coming, and I'm very happy and privileged to introduce one person, Dr. Vandana Shiva, who has decided that despite the comfort of being academician, despite the comfort of being an ecologist, a well-known ecologist, despite the comfort of serving on several international bodies, she has still not forgotten where she comes from. She's not still forgotten the farmers who produce the food and produce the systems that make us live. She has not forgotten that. And this is where I am really privileged to introduce Dr. Vandana. She's written over 20 books. She represents the wisdom of the agriculture of our farmers in the rural areas. And in order to live what she believes in, she has a foundation that tries to gather all the farmers and pass on the knowledge, not only the knowledge that she has acquired, but those that they also have for the benefit of mankind. There are some scientists in Ghana who, because they are scientists and have been given money to put in their pocket, are going on the rooftops telling us some things that you can never believe, praising GMO to the highest ever. And Doctor, let me just tell you that when some people heard that you are coming, they got shivers. They started feeling very angry. Why at all on earth should we invite you to come? And for me, let me say that also represents what she represents in the whole world. Because a person who, when you hear the name, just the name, can make you feel afraid, tells you that the person has something more, something that you do not have. That's why you must be afraid of. But we are happy she is here. We are happy. Let me also add that she is an advisor to the Indian government on agriculture. And that also explains why they have also made a lot of advances in agriculture. Let me also mention that even the Western countries, the Time magazine has recognized her as a shining example of an academician who is doing so much for people and also for the world. And I think this is the person that I am privileged, not you, I am privileged to introduce her this afternoon. And she is not here alone. She has come with Dr. Pillay. That's the correct name? Million Pillay, right? She is the coordinator for the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. He's the coordinator. Let's give all of them a So once again, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, all protocol observed, I present to you Dr. Vandana Shiva.
Yeah? Okay, fine. Thank you. Mr. Chairperson, Dr. Guri, Sister Samia, who I met when the Italian government set up the Women at the Expo 2015 in Milan board. And that's where we first came across each other. And I'm so happy to be here in your land at this moment. If the chairperson represents the amazing indigenous knowledge of Ghana, of Africa, as was mentioned by Mr. Opoko, Samia represents the spirit of decolonization of this continent. And I was so happy to listen to Mr. Pratt, that at the end of the day, what we are talking about is a new kind of slavery. And Lillian, for all the work you're doing to build the Food Sovereignty Alliance for Africa, thank you so much. I'm just a little late today, only 16 hours late, because Kenyan Airways cancelled my flight. So I've become an expert over these many years of offering solidarity, that if you don't have a bed, sleep vertical. And I can actually do it. I'm so happy to be here in Ghana, because from a distance I've been getting the flavor of the food sovereignty movement of Ghana, and I know it's very special. It's very special because it is fueled by the energy of people. And I know that energy is unstoppable, especially when it is energy that is informed about the priorities that matter. Mr. Pratt said, science has often gone crazy because we are always told we must destroy our freedom, our sovereignty, our knowledge, our abilities for science. But they never specify which science. I too studied science, and it's my scientific training that allows me to see how wrong the science behind chemical agriculture, which was called the Green Revolution, which now Mr. Bill Gates wants to bring in the name of the Alliance for the Green Revolution in Africa, or of genetic engineering, why it is so wrong. It is not science in the first place. Because science of agriculture, science of food should know ecosystems, it should know biodiversity, it should know the soil, it should know pollinators. A science of life should nourish life. But what we have in the name of science is really the expertise of killing. And I'm not saying that trivially. The companies that are today bringing us genetically engineered seeds, which earlier brought us pesticides and poisons and agrochemicals, are the same companies that during the war produced chemicals to kill people. Their expertise began in killing. They made nerve gases to kill people in concentration camps. They made pesticides whose first objective was killing people. They made herbicides like Agent Orange during the Vietnam War. That's their expertise, the expertise to kill. Did they know about the systems of agriculture when they brought these chemicals into agricultural production in the name of giving us an agriculture that was more sophisticated? No, I call it an expertise of killing and an ignorance of life. So the nitrogen fertilizers are made in the same factories that during the war made explosives. When the wars ended, they said, let's continue to make use these factories and not give up, and now convince people that the soil does not have capacity to renew its fertility. That the billions and trillions of soil organisms do not give us not just the nitrogen and potassium and phosphorus, they give us every trace element and every micronutrient that the soil needs, that the plant needs, and that we need. Soil fertility is about our health. I've just written my latest column on We Are Soil. Because we are the earth. Our bodies are made of the same stuff.
Yes.
And when we poison the soil, we poison our bodies. So when they started to apply these chemical fertilizers, they killed the life of the soil. They kill the earthworms, the microorganisms, the bacteria, the fungi that give life to the soil. And to remember that these are instruments of killing, just think in your mind how many times the news of terrorist bombing has been linked to fertilizer bombs. Oklahoma, Oslo, all of Afghanistan. In fact, an American security person even said, after a lecture he said, oh my God, now I realize. I didn't realize we gave fertilizer to counter the Russians and the Soviets. And now every village has mountains of fertilizer that we gave, which is being used against us. In India, every bombing has been a fertilizer. The pesticides themselves, as I said, were designed to kill people. They continue to kill people. We were reminded of this so dramatically in 1984 in India, 30 years ago, when a pesticide plant owned by Union Carbide, which is now owned by Dow Chemicals, leaked in the middle of the night, 2nd December, cold, freezing. And this cloud of poison just moved through the town, killing people. 3,000 killed immediately. 30,000 have died since then. Last year I was in Bhopal for the victims. They do this annual remembering. And the hall was full of children who are still being born crippled. 30 years later. The disaster isn't over. So now, they say they're going to give us genetic engineering. It's the same companies that only know how to produce poisons and how to kill. That's all they know. So after 20 years, what have they brought us as genetically engineered crops? Two kinds of crops. One are called BT because they have a gene for producing a toxin taken from a soil organism called Bacillus thuringiensis, and that's why it's BT. So now you have a plant producing its own poison in every cell, all the time. The second family of crops is called herbicide tolerant. The same company sells the herbicide, and then it engineers the plant with a toxic gene so that when the pesticide is sprayed, everything else is killed except the plant that they have sold, the seed they have sold you. So they make profits through the herbicide and they make profits through the seed. I think that both BT as well as herbicide tolerant genes are toxic genes. So more accurately, rather than trying to get every farmer to understand what's Bacillus thuringiensis, what's herbicide tolerant, I think the simplest language to use is saying they're pesticide and poison producing plants. The technology is a technology to make plants produce their own poison. We know what the impact has been for BT. Early studies done in Cornell showed there was the death of the monarch butterfly when it was fed with the pollen of BT corn, whereas the normal corn, the butterflies were fine. Our own institution did a study. I work with interdisciplinary scientists, and the top soil ecologist of India volunteers his time for us. And we did a study on the soils where the BT cotton is growing. We did it 4 years after the cotton was introduced. In 4 years, 22% beneficial organisms had died, including the bacteria that digests biomass, that eats up the biomass. So in BT fields, you see the leaves just sitting there because there's nothing to eat them. 1,800 cows and animals died after grazing in BT cotton fields, and the government of Andhra Pradesh, Animal Husbandry Department, after the autopsy said, it is the BT cotton. Not only was the entire intestine poisoned, it was a deep purple, but all the organic matter was sitting undigested. My thesis is the same toxin that was killing the organisms in the soil were killing the organism in the gut. They say BT degrades. You don't have to worry. No. Brazilian scientists found it in the blood of people. Canadian scientists found it in the blood of pregnant women and in the fetus. So here is poison getting internalized into your system. Does it work to do the job it's supposed to, which is to control pests? No, it doesn't. It has created super pests. And now farmers pray more. It's a failed technology. And that's why we are better off with our knowledge of how to control pests. The most secure way of controlling pests is to have biodiversity. Monocultures create pests because pests get a feast. There's only one plant. There's only one insect that gets to eat that food. Everything else dies. Then you come and spray, thinking you're smart, but you kill the beneficial insects that kept the pest under control. And the pest itself becomes resistant. 1,200 times more pests today than when pesticides were not applied. We are talking about pest creating technology, not pest controlling technology. The second, herbicide tolerant. The biggest herbicide tolerant crop around the world is Roundup Ready crops. Roundup is the herbicide that Monsanto sells. If you look at the names of the pesticides and herbicides, you can go to a shop that sells these poisons, and I've done this. Roundup, Machete, Total Kill, Squadron, Avenge. These are not names associated with maintaining our life and nourishing ourselves. These are words of war. And it's a war which started in the real war and in the concentration camps. Today it is a war against the planet. It's a war against farmers, and it's a war against our bodies. The herbicide-tolerant plants have given us superweeds. In the United States, they'll never tell you that story, the biotech propaganda people. They'll never come and tell you half the farmland of America is overtaken by superweeds that cannot be controlled by Roundup. And now they are using Agent Orange, 2,4-D, an ingredient of Agent Orange, to spray on the fields the same chemical they used in the Vietnam War. Now I'm remembering talking about the Vietnam War, that Henry Kissinger had said, and this is so connected to the remarks of Mr. Pratt, Kissinger has said we've got to use food as a weapon during the Vietnam War. Food is a weapon. When you control arms, you control governments. When you control food, you control people. I would say, when you control seed, you control life. And that is what the real agenda is. It is a new form of imperialism. I call it bio-imperialism. And I'm trying to establish an imperialism 75% of all environmental problems come from the industrial model of agriculture that grew from war and is pushed by corporations for profit. 75% species have gone in agriculture because of that model. India had 200,000 varieties of rice. Because I started a movement to save seeds, we've saved 3,000. We used to have 1,500 varieties of cotton, 1,500 varieties of wheat, 1,500 varieties of mangoes, because farmers and peasants and indigenous cultures breed for diversity. Because diversity improves ecosystems, diversity improves food, diversity enriches our cultures. We are richer with 20 kinds of rice or 30 kinds of sorghum than with one GMO corn being pushed on the whole world. 75% water is used for this kind of agriculture. When I did my study on the Green Revolution in Punjab for the United Nations, I realized that so much water was being used in Punjab and now water is disappearing. The groundwater table is falling, the rivers are dead. It was because those chemicals require the water for dissolving. The plant doesn't need the water. So we are irrigating 10 times more than is the normal requirement for food production because of the chemicals. The soil itself is being destroyed because you're destroying the very organisms that make for soil fertility. And soil organisms don't just give fertility, they multiply fertility through the food web, but they also release glues that hold the soil particles. And then you get aggregates. And when the rain comes, the soil doesn't wash away. Whereas in chemical soils, the soil goes away. And my book, Soil Not Oil, and I brought a whole set of books and videos to leave with Food Sovereignty Ghana. So that you can share it with you. So I did Soil Not Oil because in the climate discussions, nobody was talking about agriculture. And 40% of the emissions come from agriculture, industrial agriculture. Our ecological agriculture absorbs carbon dioxide. Industrial agriculture emits nitrogen oxide from the synthetic fertilizers and is 300 times more destabilizing in the atmosphere. Animals, instead of ranging free, living with us, in our villages, animals and family are one. There's no distinction. But in this sophisticated system, so-called, they're put into factories, they're put into prisons, and then they're tortured. And there's huge profits in it. Because government subsidizes it. Methane is emitted from those animal farms. If you travel in England or in America, you go past these big factory farms which they call CAFOs, Concentrated Animal Farming Operations, CAFO. It stinks. And I keep feeling so sad for the people who have to live around this thing. And so we're talking about 75% of ecological planetary destruction. And this system only provides 30% of the food. Most of the industrial products are not food, they are commodities. They are sold for trading. And the biggest profits are in biofuel and in animal feed. 70% of industrial food goes into biofuel and animal feed. 90% of the genetically engineered corn and soya goes into biofuel and animal feed. This is not a food system. Just like the science of killing is not a science of life. The economics of profits is not a food system. Food is about nourishing our bodies, giving us health. reaffirming our cultural identity. I remember once Rajiv Gandhi, when he was our Prime Minister, went to Rajasthan. And he's talking to this old woman. He says, are you getting, we have a subsidized food system. Are you getting food? She says, no. So he scolded the officials. He said, you people are corrupt again. You're not providing food. He said, no. The storehouse is full of wheat and rice. And the woman said, but that's not food for us. We eat sorghum. Rice is not our food. And I've also seen the opposite. I have seen rice eaters go crazy with bread. When they are given bread, they long for rice. You get a Bangladeshi to live on bread, by the second day they will rebel. Now, not only is this not a food system in terms of not getting food to people, whatever is being eaten is actually creating disease. You talked about the hunger coming out of the system. My last book is called Making Peace with the Earth, and it's got a very fat section called Hunger by Design. Like you told the story, yes, we'd have drought, and in one little part, there'd be food scarcity. There might be a little conflict, a little war, there might be food scarcity. But it was never permanent, and it was never global. It was local and temporary. Today, starvation and hunger is global and permanent, including in the heart of America, in the areas where the black people live. They have what are called food deserts, which is why Michelle Obama had to grow a garden in her White House to say we should not have food deserts. And you know what happened? The pesticide industry attacked her and said, by having an organic garden, you're sending a wrong signal. So stop calling it organic. And what did they do? They appointed the man who wrote the abusive letter to the First Lady as the ambassador for agriculture for the United States to go around the world. Just yesterday I read, I think it is Paraguay and El Salvador, who are being arm twisted because they're GMO free, that they have to accept GMOs as food aid, otherwise they won't get food aid. So why do farmers get hungry? Half of the 1 billion people who are hungry in the world are farmers, producers of food. I've watched with my own eyes. You're growing rice, but you're growing with chemicals. You buy the rice, you're in debt. The money lender is already breathing down your neck to say your produce is my produce. And then the same farmer will go and buy in the market at 4, 5, 6 times the price. So they go hungry. %75% of the diseases humanity is suffering today come from a bad food system. They come from a bad food system that is not designed for health, but for profits. When I was sitting at the airport, I couldn't believe it. The entire airport in Harare was plastered with Coca-Cola ads. Meals are better with Coca-Cola. Things should be banned. I mean, I'm very fortunate. One of my friends has become Women and Child Welfare Minister in the new ministry, and we worked a lot on banning junk food. And when I go back, those are one few of the things I'm going to pick up. These are junk foods are not supposed to be eaten. They should be in the junkyard, not in our bodies. And then the poisons themselves. 8.5 million people are dying annually because of cancer. 30 years ago, did you hear everyone having cancer? Now you talk to any family, there's cancer. Any friend, any family, there's cancer. Families are selling property, selling land, ruining the future because of one person getting cancer from those poisons. Obesity, or in America, in 2 years, autism, which basically, autism is a new problem coming up where children are don't have full brain function. In the last 2 years, it has gone up by 35%. And if this rate of increase continues, by 2050, half of US children will be autistic. Is that the future we want to bring here? No. So, I was very fortunate that in 1987, because of the work I had done in the Green Revolution, I was invited to a meeting on the new biotechnologies. It was in Geneva. And United Nations was there, the industry, poison industry was there, some of us independent scientists were there. And the poison industry laid it out very honestly. They said, we won't make too much money in the future from poisons. So now we must genetically engineer crops so that we can own them and we can collect royalties, and it's from the royalties that we will make the money. So in the earlier colonialism, how did England become so rich? Because from all our countries, they extracted revenues from land. Our peasants got poorer, and their buildings got more magnificent, and their armies got bigger. Today, they want to collect rent from life's ability to reproduce and renew. They say it's a problem that farmers save seeds. Monsanto has admitted that they were the patient, diagnostician, and physician all in one in writing the intellectual property rights agreement for WTO. As patient, they said they were sick because farmers have their own seeds. And their health depended on it being made illegal for farmers to save seeds. Because they said so clearly they had to take patents through genetic engineering, I sometimes joke and say, what they are trying to say is, GMOs means God move over. Now we are the inventors and creators of life. We will run this earth. You will be told repeatedly, I noticed that there's a desperate attempt to push a particular kind of genetically engineered crop on Africa called BT cotton, with the toxic genes in it. They're going to tell you how miraculously it has done in India. They will tell you farmers loved it so much that 95% of the cotton seeds sold today is BT cotton because farmers want it. I work with farmers, we do these studies. If BT cotton became 95%, it's because Monsanto deliberately and strategically destroyed all alternatives. They first destroy farmers' alternatives by making local seeds, replacing local seeds, and trying to make them illegal. We did fight that. That's the kind of seed laws they're trying to introduce that would make it illegal for farmers to have their own seeds in Africa. And they want to harmonize it so if they don't have to struggle to bribe every country individually, they get it across the continent at one go. The second thing they do is, because of the way they work through bribing and corruption, they manage to get our government agencies to stop doing their work. So the public sector suddenly stops breeding. Not one cotton variety has come out from the Cotton Research Institute in India for the region where it is located. And they have locked 60 Indian companies into licensing arrangements, which means the Indian companies cannot sell anything but the BT cotton. So on the box you will see different names that the farmers are familiar with, but in a corner will be a logo which means property of Monsanto. As I mentioned, Monsanto's done this only to own the seed and collect royalties. The seed cost jumped 8,000%, from 5 rupees to 4,000 rupees. And our parliament set up a parliamentary committee to investigate. Monsanto representative admitted half of the price they were charging from the farmers was royalty collection, which goes straight to St. Louis, just like in colonial times, revenues went straight to London. As I said, it doesn't really work. There are more pests today than before. pests that were never attacking cotton today attack cotton. Aphids, jacet, mealybug, armybug. I learn new names all the time. 1,300% more pesticide use. Between 8,000% more seed price and 1,300% more pesticide expense, farmers get trapped into debt. Meantime, the yield isn't going up, it's going down. Just in the last 5 years, it has dropped from 588 average per hectare to 480 an average a hectare. It's coming down. Indebted farmers. And the debt is not to government, it's not to public banks, it's to the agents that sell the seed and the chemical. Now, for the company, it's never a loss, because if the seed fails, they will buy, farmers will buy it again and again. In some seasons, they buy it thrice. I remember in 1984, when the Ethiopian famine was there, I was traveling to Addis. Next to me was a person who asked me why I was going. I said, to try and understand what happens to people during a famine. Because as I said, I was working for the United Nations University those days. And I said, and what are you going for? He was from Pioneer Hybrid, which is one of the biggest seed companies, to sell hybrid seeds. I said, but it's a drought. Hybrid needs water. He says, for us, it's fine. It will fail and we will sell more. So in the market, there's never a failure. And then they'll sell you pesticides, you're going to get cancer, and they're the same guys who have patented cancer drugs. So at every level, they make profits. Now, since these corporations entered India, 284,000 Indian farmers have committed suicide. The same propagandists will tell you this is a lie. It doesn't come from me, it comes from our government statistics. All we do is go into the villages to find out who committed suicide and why. And in 90% cases in the cotton area, it's because they had bought BT cotton seeds at high cost, which failed. 30% of all the suicides are concentrated in this area in central India, which has become the BT cotton heartland. 70% suicides are nationally in the cotton areas. And the graph for suicides in the cotton area is climbing like this. The other thing they will do is show you a flat graph for the country as a whole. But the country as a whole doesn't matter, because people aren't getting into debt, because they're not buying these non-renewable seeds. This push is now coming on the seed laws as well as the GMO push for Africa. And the reason I'm here is to offer solidarity and to say this is really the most important movement of our time. At that meeting in 1987, the industry had said, by 2000 we control all seed, all food, all health. That's when I decided I would save seeds and would fight genetic engineering. And I would monitor what these companies do. And I will tell the truth about them. And I will look at what the trade issue is doing and what the trade-related intellectual property rights is doing. We've created Vandana, we've created 120 community seed banks, so seed is in farmers' hands, which is the only place where it belongs. That is why seed sovereignty is so important. We've also helped train more than 750,000 farmers in agroecology. Their own knowledge. It's not that we are bringing it from the skies, but we are helping them remember who they are, and what they know. I remember that we were doing a training and on the intensification, rice intensification. And this old woman, 70-year-old, started to shout in her language. So I said, what happened? And she said, that's exactly what we used to do. Till they came with the Green Revolution and told us it was primitive. Now every time they tell you something is primitive, just hold on to it. Because it is the sophistication of our knowledge and culture. But I also worked with our government. The government appointed me to the expert groups to write at least 3 laws, maybe 4. One was the farmers' rights law, which was called the plant variety law, the kind you're getting. And we got in farmers' rights clauses. No law on seed in the third world should be anything but a farmers' rights law. Because these people controlling the seed globally are not breeders, they are thieves. Because they pretend they've invented the seed, but you can't invent a seed. It's like us saying we've invented our children. No, they're a continuity. And all they do is steal what we have. Sometimes put a toxic gene into it and say, you know, sometimes not even do that anymore. You know, I fought 3 cases of biopiracy. I call it biopiracy. Neem, this wonderful tree that we can use to control pests. Basmati, an aromatic rice from my valley. And a wheat that doesn't give you gluten allergies, which Monsanto had patented. So they want to take what is ours collectively and patent it and sell it back to us and make profits. And they think we're going to be so stupid as to accept it. Of course they will influence some people, a few breeders, a few scientists who did biotechnology. It's very sad. You know, you did biotechnology, so should the whole country give up its sovereignty and freedom for your career? It's a wrong calculus. The industry had thought all seeds would be GM by 2000 because we built the movements. It's not. The minority of seeds is GMO. So now they're trying the other trick, make it illegal for people to have their own seed, which is what the new seed legislation is all about. It's about criminalizing local biodiversity. It's a way the British tried to criminalize our languages, our ways of dressing, our ways of eating. Criminalizing what is ours has always been the way of colonialism. But this time, we just can't afford a new wave of colonialism because it means extinction of life on Earth. We know better, we can do better. Our systems, if they aren't marginalized, produce more. With native seeds, our farmers are earning 10 times more. Our crops have more nutrition. They created all these foods where the soil has no nutrition, so your plants have no nutrition. They've killed the biodiversity and make you grow commercial crops and commodities which don't go to feed you. So it's a nutrition deficit system. Now they want to bring us golden rice, GMO banana. The GMO banana is for iron enrichment. It'll have 2 milligrams. The turmeric we eat daily in Indian food has 68 milligrams. The tamarind, the dried mango, the amaranth greens, the golden rice, 35 micrograms. When all the greens, the drumstick, the moringa, and I'm sure if here in Ghana you did a study with indigenous women and Dr. Guri, perfectly, you're lying. All the indigenous foods and their nutritional benefits, their biofortification program will be put to shame, which is the other assault on Africa. We don't need to be fooled. We don't need to be fooled to be colonized again. With our indigenous seeds, with our indigenous knowledge, with agroecology, with solidarity. The kind of solidarity that was brought forth when our countries fought for freedom and independence. We were one. We have to become one again. Not just country-wise, but across the world. We can't afford a seed slavery because, as I said, this seed slavery means extinction. We have to build the movements for seed freedom and food freedom together. And I am so grateful to all of you to have received me as part of this movement that we cannot allow to fail. Thank you.
I'm so touched. But before I ask or call on my good friend William to make a remark, I think I need to acknowledge some people who are with us here. I have my learned senior, my comrade, and a member of the CPP here, Mr. Bright Akotis, has also been a professor. Senior Bright.
I'm here.
We also have the All African People's Revolutionary Party, which was the party set up during, I think, by Nkrumah, yes, but yes, Kwamituri, yes, from Guinea. I think they are also here. We also have the Free Your Mind movement, they are also here. We have the Vegetarian Association of Ghana here. We have the Rastafarian Council here. We have the Amanda Amarga Hari Krishna here. We have the Green from Ivory Coast, they are also here. We have the Health Concern Society, they are also here. I think I also need to acknowledge that the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana are also here. We have the Vegetarian Association of Ghana also here. We have the University of Ghana, SRC, here. We have His Excellency, the Ambassador of Western Sahara here. Can we are very grateful. We are in solidarity with you. We have the Commonwealth Hall University of Ghana also here. We need to also acknowledge, I think, our traditionalists who came in, and the moment we see them, we are here. We are very grateful. We cannot talk about GMO, cannot talk about going indigenous without acknowledging the role our traditional priests also play in the land administration. Me, Obami, Ite, we acknowledge your presence. And then he is the traditional priest and the war commander of the Ghana state. Madam, you can see how your presence, Dr. Shiva, you can see how your presence has brought a lot of people all over here.
Because I believe in diversity.
Right. And please permit me at this point also to let us stand, give a 1 minute silence for Maya Angelou, one of our greatest women activists, poets, a friend of Ghana who has done so much. Please let us acknowledge her with a 1 minute silence. Most grateful. Can you resume your seat? And I must also tell you that we, on Monday, normally Mondays, at the Freedom Center, we have a group and we are dedicating this particular one to Maya Angelou. And we are inviting all friends to come and listen to poetry, to music. They are all part of the fight towards freedom. We need to liberate our minds. We need to move forward. We need to overcome this colonial instinct. But before that, we need to also recognize those who have brought us where we have reached. And good. I have two more and then I'll resume my seat and ask Dr. Bilay to. We have the Director of Water Aid Ghana. Can we see you? Director of Water Aid Ghana. Now we have you. And then we have Dr. Fletcher, a medical doctor, but let me say that he has been with us throughout all the food sovereignty conferences and meetings. Dr. Fletcher has found time to come, and we are so happy that he's here. He's a CPP Greater Accra chairman. Doctor, you are most welcome. Now, I can ask Dr. Bilay, but give me 1 second to say this. I think Dr. Shiva made a very important point that the GMO system is a system which tends to colonize us. And I want to tell you that if you look at the Plant Breeders Bill, Section 61 of the Plant Breeders Bill, they define a plant breeder as one, the plant breeder who has bred the seed itself. Two, the employer is also defined as a plant breeder. And the successors in title, that if they die, those who inherit them, they are also defined as plant breeders. Can you imagine this? Why? Because currently, Arcadia has employed some Ghanaian scientists at CSIR, as Dr. you rightly stated, to try and see how nitrogen can, and the GMO seeds can be acclimatized in Ghana. So our plant breeders bill says that Arcadia, who has employed them, is a plant breeder. The scientist who is carrying the experiment is also a plant breeder. And those who will succeed them are also plant breeders. That is the situation we are facing now. There will be an opportunity to talk more about it. So, Dr. Bilay, you are most welcome, and your remarks.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. I love Ghana. Love Ghana very much. All Ethiopians love Ghana for one reason or another. And I'm so proud to be here because the food sovereignty Ghana is an example of all of us in Africa, for real grassroots movement in Africa. There is no other country in Africa which would equal what the food sovereignty Ghana and SICOD and the farmer groups are doing. No other country. So when there was an opportunity to bring Vandana or to take Vandana to 3 countries, my first choice was Ghana, mainly because of you. So congratulations. And I would love to thank Vandana. We have cooked up this in August last year. And I was laughing when I was reading, what they call it, Ghana, whatever. You know, they were saying that she received money from us.
$40,000 a day. $400,000, where is it?
I organized these 3 trips, 3 countries, and I didn't give her a penny. That was online. I think this thing is not making a good noise, so I can't speak like this. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I thank everybody, and I was so happy. My elder here yesterday really took care of me. Thank you very much. I would want to say one or two things about the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. Who are we and why are we organizing this event? This event is the beginning of the series of events that's going to take place all over Africa. I hope that Vandana would promise to travel to other 10 African countries next year. Because the moment that other people know that she is going to Zimbabwe, the Malians and the Zambians were asking for her. And even in Western Africa, people in Togo and in Benin were asking for her. So there's a huge demand for her to travel. So we have to cook up something next year also. So it's my fault. Yeah. So why are we here? Why do we need AFSA? I mean, some of you have been, I'm sure, traveling all over the world like Bengali. And wherever you go, what you see is other people, other northern NGOs mostly, speaking on behalf of Africa. Sometimes it's not bad, but most of the times they speak about the issues that they don't understand. And when my African brothers are invited in international meetings, most of the time they are invited by other NGOs. So they go there and they don't speak about what they know. They speak about other things. So in 2008, Bengali and some of us came together and have decided to speak together in one voice about Africa. So it started in 2008. In 2009, we called it AFSA. In 2010 and 11, we launched AFSA. In 2012, again, we came to Ghana, going to Techiman. We had our meeting, and last year, we had our meeting in Addis Ababa. Now, AFSA is a voice. Everybody is recognizing AFSA. Quite recently, there was a non-state actors meeting with the African Union in Addis Ababa. And I was told that most of the people who are speaking on behalf of Africa are not Africans at all. So the process is being very much controlled to the interests of northern NGOs in northern countries and mostly to companies. What is produced as a statement does not represent what we believe in AFSA. What do we believe in as AFSA, as Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa? I think we believe and we have decided that the fight now we have is a fight between two paradigms. One paradigm, I mean, we have a problem. We have a problem of growing number of population. We have expanding urban areas, urbanization. We have climate change. But what is the solution to this problem? There are two paradigms. One paradigm, the paradigm that Vandana mostly spoke about, the kind of the Monsanto paradigm, is to solve the problem that we have now, to feed the people in the world. What you have to do is produce improved varieties of seeds, as if farmers' varieties are not improved. They are improved varieties. So produce improved varieties, apply chemicals, substitute the knowledge that our farmers have, then all is well. But there is another paradigm, which is the agroecology paradigm. The focus should be, we say, on the soils. That's what Vandana was focusing. And there are a lot of methodologies which would help us to build the soil. And farmers are doing it. So focus on the soils and build on the knowledge that our people have. And I can give you examples and after examples and after examples from all over Africa, where agroecology or farmers-based agriculture or family-based agriculture is working. But it doesn't give, it's not the main story. It's not the main narrative. Because this story does not produce money to corporates, to companies. So in 2013, last year, the Alliance for Food Sovereignty for